Robynne.
Hi, Mary.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We are recording in person at Kiln in Portland. Thank you, Kiln. And Robynne, I asked you to come join me because we have seen a lot of people struggling to get back on their feet in a productive space after Election Day. It's a lot of feels, rightly so.
Yeah.
But you and I had some beautiful conversations, and I thought, let's record it to bring some comfort to everybody, and then they can get to know you too, because I have enjoyed getting to know you. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people?
Sure. I help people who are going through major life transitions. So it can be anything between career, relationships, identity, living situation. I myself am recovered from a serious illness, so I enjoy coaching people who are dealing with major medical diagnoses. And I also spent 20 years as a leader in the corporate world, so lots of career transitions and the identity shifts that come with that.
Change.
All the change.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going through a big period of change. I would argue we are never not going through periods of change. Mm-hmm. Would that be accurate? Or
absolutely. My coach, Martha Beck, says that change is speeding up. The rate of change is speeding up. Mm-hmm. And I would have to agree that in my lifetime, I think it feels like everything is moving more quickly, especially in regard to the climate, to social issues, to everything that's happening. Yeah. And a big part of the framework that I work with when I work with clients is the change cycle, how we process change, what we need in each stage of change that we're going through. That's really fun to kind of take people through.
Okay, I just love that you use the word fun with change, because during COVID, so many people were like, if I hear someone say the word pivot one more time, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
And so I like that you're using the word fun with it, because like, I mean, you know, we've been getting to know each other's businesses, and I'm going through like huge metamorphosis in my own business, and it's a lot of change, but dare I say it, it's also been a lot of fun. It's very freeing to put some things down and then to do new things. Mm-hmm. But change can be really triggering and scary for people, and I'm wondering, like, with the collective experience we all had from November the 5th and then the processing that is continuing after, do you think that there are signs if somebody needs more than just commiserating over social media posts? When they're like stuck in this sort of ruminating space of like, basically, like, to me it seems like the dialogue is, I can't handle the change. I don't know what to do with it. Like, I literally don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. Like, where do I put it? What do I do? Mm-hmm. Feeling powerless. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason that we don't know what to do with it is because we're processing the loss. Yeah. We're processing this big, whether it was expected or unexpected for you. If you're in a space of grieving since the election, the mantra that Martha uses in the change cycle is, this feels like hell, and that's okay. Like, it's,
oh, I like that. I love her quotes.
Yeah, I think it's, this feels like hell, or I don't know what the hell's going on, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that just allowing ourselves to process the grief, process everything that we're feeling, and really avoid the urge to act it out. You know, in our society, especially in the corporate world, so many of us are trained or socialized to, when things get really hard, something changes, we think we have to jump into action, into the next thing. What is the next action? And in regard to social media and that sort of thing, I think during the pandemic, we were very isolated. We were physically inside of our homes, and I noticed this really interesting trend of everyone sharing all the vital, emergent, important, latest political news and information in rapid fire all the time to their networks, as if that is somehow taking a tangible step toward change.
Yeah.
I am working really, really hard to use social media as a tool and not a coping strategy. Yeah. We know that social media algorithms and a lot of these accounts that are out there are designed to make us more divided, more depressed, and more, isolated. I think there's the far swing to that too, which is to completely check out if we do that, we also let the fascists win, because that's what they want us to do as well, right? Like completely check out of the political cycle. So I think what we're in right now is a new stage of reckoning with ourselves. It's happening at the individual level of like, how do I clip in for the long haul here, right? Yeah. We're gonna have a long 4 years ahead of us. How do I take care of myself, take care of my community? What are my values and priorities? And how can I ensure that everything that I share and post is productive for those goals, comes back in line, is aligned back with those goals? Almost like when you're business coaching someone, and it's like, how is this supporting your strategic business goals? How is this supporting like your personal goals?
Yeah. I've been having conversations lately with people about things happening at the same time. And I've been telling this to my spiritual crowd. It's a both and. Mm-hmm. So the times can be shitty, both and. Mm-hmm. You can also be highly productive in birthing like really transformative things. Yeah. In my channeling session that I did for my audience this week, so the readings come out this weekend, you know, the really cool message that came out was how, okay, you might not like the road that we just turned down on, because we're all part of a collective, and you don't get to check out of the collective. You have to go where the bus goes. So the bus has made a turn. You didn't vote for that road, but the thing that needs to come out of you actually wouldn't come out of you in the way it needs to if you'd gone down the other road. Yeah. And I like really have been noticing that with like a lot of things, both for myself, with other people. We have like an amazing group of people here now that we've all been hanging out. Yeah. And like the conversation has been like this, where we've all had these like sudden breakthroughs in the last week or so, where it's like, oh, I'm so clear, I need to put that thing down, or I need to do that thing. But I have a wider audience, and I know that there are some people who are still struggling with, I don't feel safe, especially for all of our queer friends. Like, I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I, you know, should exercise my voice in that way, or somehow they need to like self-censor or put things out in a particular way so that they're not, you know, making themselves feel, I guess safety is just like the really big thing. Yeah. No one needs to perform for anyone, so there's nothing that they need to be, you know, putting out there. I think safety is super important. Our psychological safety is a big deal right now. It's a very triggering time for many people. For me personally, the day after the election, I felt that I couldn't even write in anything other than first person. I could only write in first person that day. I was really, you know, focusing on processing my own grief while I helped others process theirs. And just giving people grace, letting people off the hook. Like any meetings that I had, it's not business as usual. It's not for me, and I'm not expecting that it is for you. And I treated it that way for about, I want to say, at least the few days following the election. I think now that level of safety, I hope, is starting to return for some people. I know I have a few folks in my network who were really, really dysregulated after the election, and taking some time away, either taking a trip or just taking a literal break away from the news media, getting out in nature, things like that, felt restorative for them. But we want to make sure that we don't do that for the next 4 years. It's not checking out. Yes, it's not checking out. It's self-care. Self-care is not checking out. Exactly. It's getting active in a way that is more in alignment with you. It's more productive. And I think it's so funny, like, so before we were recording, you were like, Mary, you need to hit record now, because we were catching up, and I was telling you about self-care that I just did in the last week, and I think like I love that you said that after the election you only wrote in first person, and I think we're still kind of in the period where you need to do I statements, like I need this, I need that. Because if that's not working well first, the old systems coach in me is like coming out. I'm like, you are the best system, and like if you haven't taken care of that first, then you can't do activism and have impact and like exercise your voice. It's not really going to come, or it will become performative, and then burn out. And just like with anything that I coach on, the things that we focus on grow. So how much time are we spending focusing on the things we're pissed about, the things we don't want,
and how much time are we spending focused and talking about and putting out into the world the things we do want, the things we are supporting, the things we're creating. For me personally, I do, getting back to what you were saying about if we hadn't had this big shift, would we be growing in the ways that we're growing and sort of stepping up to challenges in the ways that we are? It's a really interesting question. I've been asking myself that a lot too, because I feel like I'm committing to doubling down in two ways. One, I want to double down on my own health, my well-being, my schedule, and that schedule can even be, what time of the day do you take in news media?
Oh, I like that, to actually schedule in your content consumption time.
What time of the day do you take it in? Where, how do you take it in? Do you listen to it? Is it something you watch? Is it something you consume in social media? But, you know, for a lot of us, it's like not doing it first thing in the morning, not doing it right before you go to bed, if sleep hygiene is important to you. But I've been thinking a lot about doubling down on my own health and well-being for many reasons, but almost as a way of like training up for the next 4 years.
I have heard this health thing from so many people. I've had the same thing too, but I have heard this from so many people, clients, current clients, ex-clients have reached out, I think just out of comfort. I'm hearing it in groups and audiences, and November the 5th happened, and then people were like, I need a workout plan. And I thought it was such an interesting reaction. Like, is that something that our brains do as like a coping mechanism? Or, because it felt like the pattern interrupt happened and everyone was like, if I don't have my health, I don't have anything.
Right.
And I thought that was...
And I might lose my health insurance.
Right? Yeah. And it was so like base Maslow's hierarchy. And it was like, oh no, the bottom of my pyramid needs some attention. And I thought that was so fascinating.
Yeah. For me, it's like also the emotional, psychological health too. It's like a holistic, strong baseline, so that my mask is on so I can help other people put their masks on. And then the second side of that doubling down is, for me, getting hyper-focused on community care. Queer and trans people have been thriving and helping each other through community care since the beginning of all of this, and we will continue doing it much, much longer. So doubling down on that, I'm super committed to, you know, just doing whatever I can to help pregnant, trans, queer youth, people of color, especially youth. Like, this is going to be a really challenging time for them.
Grow up during this period. It's serious.
And for us, you know, older folks,
it's okay.
Young oldies.
Somebody attached my decade this morning while I was teaching.
Oh, seriously?
To people in their 60s. I was like, no. You're like, if you're in the 80s, you're still in your 40s.
Wow.
I was like, 1979 wasn't that long ago. Okay.
So for me, as one of the oldest millennials, I think that this is a time of really playing the long game, looking at this as, you know, a marathon, not a sprint. What do we need to be self-sustaining during this time? What do we need to give those in our community? How do we want to show up for each other? How can we continue to talk to people who have different beliefs than us?
Don't you think, though, okay, so we're both in our, like, early-ish 40s, and it seems like it's about that time in life when those concepts should be happening anyways. Right. Like, we're becoming more elders. We're supposed to, seems kind of weird. I don't know why people put me in charge of things, but like, they shouldn't. But it seems like we're now at the stage in life where we're beginning to mentor. We've lived enough things. It's like, listen, kid, I've done it. Please don't do that. Like, I mean, you can if you really want to learn it, but like, I could tell you and you could learn through me. I can mentor you. Like, I would advise that you don't do that and maybe try doing this instead. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And, you know, and the world is going through a lot of change. It's very rapid. And there are things with like tech and AI and all kinds of things that we don't even know how to navigate. But that mentorship role is just going to keep getting deeper.
I think there's so much that we can learn from them too. I mean, the clarity, the hope, the optimism of the younger generation, and also just the fact that their frameworks, the ways in which they are thinking about diversity is just night and day what it was when we were younger.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the children of all different types of parents. And it's happening, I think, as a collective, as a part of the collective consciousness of the younger generation. And they're not held back by the same types of systems that we were, especially as women, you know, growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. I think that it's going to be a really exciting time for them, but it's our opportunity and our duty to create safety for them as much as possible, and to continue to shed and unlearn ourselves and be willing to really like be in real conversation with what their needs are.
So what would you advise as a life coach? What would you advise somebody who is feeling like their safety is super eroded, or maybe has even had some experiences? I've been hearing some not pleasant stories in the last couple of weeks where, you know, culturally there is a dynamic happening right now where voices not for equality are doing things, saying things, and it does, like, it could be very triggering. It could bring up old things maybe related to like PTSD type things. But like what happens? What should somebody do? What's their first line of defense personally? Like stop, drop, and roll kind of action. If you're like, whoa, I just realized I'm super triggered, or that suddenly threw me off course, or I'm shutting down. Like, how do we make sure that doesn't happen? What's the, like, we always learn when we're kids, like, if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, honestly, I think just giving yourself some time and space to first of all grieve and process your emotions. We have to be willing to feel everything that's there, everything we're feeling, without jumping into the urge to take action, to act out. Because a lot of times if we're acting from places of fear or scarcity or defensiveness, we're focusing on what we don't want to create, not what we do want to create. So if you're in a space where you can take just a little bit of space to give yourself some time, some objectivity, and then really get clear on what it is that you need in order for you to have a best case scenario. And by all means, if the people around you are not your people, find your people. It's on you to find your people. And allies and other queers and trans folks and are out here wanting to help. But I think now more than ever, leaning into that community care and not, letting others win by isolating yourself more and making yourself invisible. We need your light. Like, that's the very worst thing.
What would you give advice to somebody, because I've been hearing this from more than one source in the last couple of weeks, where they realize that where they need to find community is not where they are currently living. The metaphysician in me is like, the Lego blocks are being rearranged on the planet right now. But as somebody who in my life path has not hesitated to relocate and move many times, there are some people where they've never relocated themselves. You know, they come from a family line where, like, you stay put where you're at. They don't have examples of people just moving to where the air is fresher. And, you know, it's not that you have to take action right away, because you don't want to do it when you're in fight or flight. But if you start to realize, like, the change is bigger than, oh, let me just, run my business differently, or let me get a new job. Like, it's bigger than that. How does somebody start navigating that? Because it's a marathon. It's going to take time. I don't want to give advice for sure, but I will ask some questions, because I was just having a conversation with a good friend who's in this exact situation. She's living in a town where she doesn't feel safe. She feels that she, is kind of screaming into a void on social media about the things that are important to her. She's showing up imperfectly and in the best ways that she can with the folks that she feels are safe for her. Right.
And she works in healthcare. And she's really at a stage where she just feels that she needs to get out of her environment. And I think for me, like, a lot of it is questioning, what are the arbitrary rules we make up for ourselves? A lot of us make up these arbitrary rules, like, oh, it's not a good time to buy or sell my house. Oh, I've never done this before, so I shouldn't do it now. Or perhaps there's an urge to hunker down and stay put because you're afraid. Do that for a time, but also realize that you have the ability to create and design whatever you want your life to look like. And there's no reason that you need to stay in a place where your safety is a concern, and and honestly where you don't feel embraced and welcomed.
Yeah.
We all deserve to feel embraced and welcomed. And of course we need to slowly start shifting the mindset of all of the areas that don't foster that type of environment, but that doesn't need to be your individual responsibility if you feel like you really need to get out. And so for my friend in particular, what that looks like for her is, they're planning to rent out their home and rent something in a more progressive town. They're interested in moving to the Pacific Northwest, like moving up this way. And I think that it's different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. Obviously, the constraints are very real and different for everyone. But if there's something you've been telling yourself about why you can't make a change, continue to excavate that. Continue to ask yourself, well, where is this coming from? Is this guideline or rule that I'm maybe telling myself, is this even mine? Or did this come from the larger society? Is this coming from my perceived everyone? Is this something that I think my grandfather would have said is the most financially smart thing to do? I think really continuing to ask yourself those questions and realize that you're the only ones making the rules in your life.
Yeah. I love that you just asked that question, because I ask my people that all the time. I'm like, does this belong to you? That's always the number one thing when you're diving into intuitive practice and you're trying to figure it out, because it's all emotional. And I'm like, does that feeling, does it belong to you? Does that belief pattern belong to you? And then when you determine that, it's like, well, then now what do you want to do about it? And it's never just one answer. So it's like a series of answers and actions. But I love that you just said that, to excavate.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a period of excavation.
One of my coaches has this beautiful saying, and it's, discomfort is the currency of our dreams.
Oh my God, that's such a good quote.
I love that quote. I have seen it misused in different contexts. So discomfort is the currency of our dreams when we are acting in integrity with ourselves, and when we are putting ourselves in maybe stretching a little out of our comfort zones to grow in the ways in which we've decided are important and meaningful to us. But keeping yourself in an uncomfortable situation just to prove to yourself that you can stick it out, or that you're tough enough, or that XYZ you're trying to prove to some other person, that's not the same kind of discomfort that is required for growth.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important distinction to make as well. If you are someone who's in a situation that you want to change, but you're saying, no, I need to knuckle down and stick this out, well, why?
Yeah.
You better really like your why. And if you do, great. But if you don't, what could shift? What could change?
Yeah. Well, that's so good. I think that might be the period on the end of the sentence.
I have a really a beautiful meditation instructor who I've been following for a few years, and she has this meditation that is titled "Let It Be Different." And part of the meditation, she kind of repeats, "Let it be different, let it get better." And
it's so good. That's a good mantra.
It is. And even, I brought a lot of my lens of the past of dealing with serious medical diagnoses that were really terrifying and scary. That was kind of how I was approaching this election, of like, I was treating it as you don't know what test result you're going to get. But what I do know is that I have what it takes to make the best decisions possible for myself and for my community, to keep moving forward with the information that I get.
Yeah.
And so that was what was kind of comforting me in the time of going into the election. But I also think that there's this funny thing that happens when we're navigating change. Like, even for me, when I was coming out of a period of being really, really sick, in which I couldn't walk for 7 months. I was walking with a walker on my 30th birthday. And then I slowly started to be able to, you know, take a shower again without fearing that I was going to pass out, driving a car again, getting a desk job again. As I started to make small steps toward that progress, it was really interesting, this phase that happens where you're still processing the change in identity, and you have to ask yourself, am I ready to not be a sick person anymore? Am I ready to step into this new identity? And it's a really scary thing to do. I mean, even people who are coming out of prison go through a period of grief and loss for the life and identity that they had in prison. And now coming back into the outside world, trying to navigate, who am I now? Who am I becoming? How do I exist here?
Oh my God, girl, you dropped more after the period on the other side. This is so good about identity. I feel like we're going to have more talks about this, because we get so attached to identity, and that both and framework, I think, is challenging people's identities about themselves, because it's like, I am like queer, and also I'm going to, you know, operate in the world in this way. Like, it's, you don't have to like just do what everyone else is doing. You can do things in your own way. And I just love this. I'm so glad I came here to record. I'm gonna let everybody know that I will be dropping your info in the show notes below the video. Awesome. But y'all should call up Robynne, because you're my new favorite person.
Thank you, Mary. This was really fun.
All right, we will talk again soon. And just everybody knows, like, we're two people who found community this year, and there's this we were just talking about, there's this beautiful community of molecules coming together in our area, and it has been so beautiful. It's happening before the election. The election solidified a lot of things, and I just know that there's more community out in the world, and sometimes having evidence that you can see that it's happening for other people shows you that it's possible, so that you can go seek it.
Absolutely.